Coming to paperback and e-readers this February, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers this February. Why is the Afro-American Negro woman so dysfunctional? Well, one of the reasons why your Afro-American Negro woman is so dysfunctional is because she's spoiled rotten. When it comes down to this Afro-American Negro woman, she is one of the most spoiled rotten people on the planet. And the reason why she is spoiled rotten is because a large group of enablers continue to make excuses for her bad behavior instead of holding her accountable for her behavior like they would anyone else. Now, when it comes down to the Afro-American Negro community, most people put this Afro-American Negro woman on a pedestal. But because she has low self-esteem, she can't see the pedestal she has been raised to be up on by a whole host of simps in her community who pretty much put her on that pedestal so that they can get benefits from her economically and socially and even politically, because when it comes down to this Afro-American Negro woman, the more lies you tell this woman that she wants to hear, the more she gives you. And this codependent relationship is one of the reasons why your Afro-American Negro woman is so spoiled. Now, who spoils this Afro-American Negro woman? First and foremost is the white liberal. Now, your white liberal pretty much spoils this Afro-American Negro woman by taking away all accountability from her with his welfare policy and his law enforcement policy, because whenever it comes down to the behavior of this Afro-American Negro woman, she is never held accountable for her actions. She can pretty much slap a guy and she's not going to jail. She can pretty much have a whole host of illegitimate children, and there's a white liberal saying that it's not her fault. It has to do with whatever they believe it to be, poverty, whatever abusive home, and whatever issues that they make excuses for whatever behavior she has. And they make those excuses again so they can make money off this Afro-American woman, Negro woman, and spoil her. Now, the other enabler in the community that continues to spoil this Afro-American Negro woman is this black pastor. Again, this black pastor makes excuses for this Negro woman's behavior by superimposing white Jesus upon her and telling her that white Jesus will pretty much forgive her for all of her sins, no matter how irresponsible, reckless, and egregious they are. And instead of trying to tell this woman the two commandments that Christ pretty much established in the Bible years ago, which was love thy neighbor as they love thyself, and to love the Lord with all thy heart, thy soul, and thy spirit. And if she were to apply those two commandments, she would not be anywhere near as spoiled. And if this pastor pretty much taught those values, this Afro-American Negro woman would have the moral position to understand that she serves the community and that the community does not serve her. But because the pastor wants to get money out of this Afro-American Negro woman, he does not have the courage to pretty much teach the moral position and the moral values that will teach this Afro-American Negro woman discipline. No, what he does is he continues to enable her dysfunction by giving her a pass for it, just like your white liberal does with his welfare policy. So those two guys are pretty much, they lay the foundation for the spoiling of this Afro-American Negro woman. And the same thing on the job with a lot of these bosses when they hire this Afro-American Negro woman. They spoil her again by not calling her on her out-of-pocket behavior on the job. Because also there, she can sit there and have a bad attitude with employees, with customers, with co-workers, and they pretty much give it a pass. Now, if that black man has a bad day, they're calling that black man in to write him up, to discipline him, and to terminate him. But when this black woman comes in here and is having a bad day, having a nasty attitude, rolling her eyes, sucking her teeth, mouthing off to people on the job, there's no boss calling her in. When she's coming in late, there's no boss calling her in and holding her accountable the same way they would with a man. No, in most cases, they give her a pass, and because they give her a pass, she believes that this behavior, it continues to be acceptable. And this is the big problem with your Afro-American Negro woman overall is that she continues to believe that her behaviors are perfectly fine. And these behaviors, again, these are enabled by not only these black pastors, these white liberals, but they're also enabled by black men in the community who also continue to make excuses for this female and all of her irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behavior. And they make these excuses for her, again, as part of that codependent, covert contract, believing that if they do not give her a pass for her bad behavior, they will not get a chance at that atomic waste reactor between her legs. And because they believe they won't get a taste of the waste, they pretty much make all sorts of excuses enabling her dysfunctional behavior instead of calling her on it. And the sad part is that this Afro-American Negro woman is being, stuck in this state of arrested development because a large group of males and a large group of people just keep giving her passes. If we were to pull back and start giving this woman the discipline that she was supposed to get, maybe she would behave a lot better, and maybe she would learn how to act properly in society. And maybe she wouldn't be as spoiled. Unfortunately, many of these Negro men are cowards, and many of these white liberals are cowards, and they do not have the backbone to, or the testicles to stand up to this woman and let her know her behavior is out of line, the way she acts is out of line, her attitude is just egregious, and that the behavior she participates in will not be tolerated. If these guys had the courage to draw a line in the sand, I guarantee you things would be a lot better with this Afro-American Negro woman. But because these guys sit here and spoil this woman, giving her whatever she wants, whenever she wants, however she wants, she has grown to become, as I call it, the bride of Frankenstein, a monster that is completely out of control, completely undisciplined, and pretty much acts out in the most reckless, irresponsible, and egregious ways. I mean, I doubt we would be seeing all these black women twerking in places like Walmarts and public libraries, or fighting like a pair of hellcats in fast food restaurants if men were to start standing up to them and establishing a standard and conduct for the women that they interacted with. Because in other communities, they don't have that problem because they establish a standard. But when it comes down to black men, they believe that, again, in some cases, your black woman is God. And because they were raised in these single mother households, they believe they have to look up at this woman instead of looking her directly in the eye and establishing what they believe to be a standard for what type of woman they want to be involved with, what type of woman they want to have relationships with, and what type of behavior they want from the women that they pursue relationships with. I believe if guys were to start laying that foundation for that moral standard in their community, a lot of the behaviors in the black community when it came down to these Negro women would pretty much change overnight. Because if these men were to start laying that foundation and have that standard, they wouldn't be dealing with half this nonsense they're dealing with right now. A lot of this nonsense we're dealing with right now partially has to do with that white liberal and that black pastor, but as I believe it, black men have to start laying a standard and having that moral standard, for how they deal with the women they interact with. A lot of this stuff, too many guys are letting black women get away with, and if they wouldn't let her get away with it, she wouldn't be behaving the way she's behaving right now. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.